You auditioned for Stan Rizzo.
I did.
How many auditions?
It might have just been one.
And with producers?
That was kind of how they rolled back then, because it wasn't meant to be.
Because you met with people and they were like, new. They didn't.
It wasn't meant to be what it became.
You thought it was a one-off?
Well, no, I thought it was more like a 2-3 off. That's what I'd been told.
2 or 3 episodes done.
Yeah.
And it lasted how many years?
The latter half of the run was on for 7. I think I was on for 3. The latter 3.5.
So, when did you find out that they want to bring you back, or was it just kind of like, we want him back again, and they did that before they made a contract with you?
So going into that first year, that was my first gig back after getting back in shape. So that had yielded that. But when I showed up for the audition, I was suddenly still kind of mad because I showed up and it was a hall full of like offensive linemen and me.
Oh boy!
And I thought, oh man, they don't know that I got back in shape. That means I'm not going to be right for this part because they thought I was still big. And I almost left the audition. I really did. I almost left. And plus I was waiting forever too. I was like, I'm not right for it, and I'm waiting an hour. I'm out of here. But I thank God I stayed. So the first year was just, I had never seen the show. I didn't really know much about it.
You knew it was a big success.
Oh, of course. I knew it was a juggernaut.
Yeah.
But I'd never seen it. So I didn't really know the inner workings of the dynamics between any of the characters or anything. So I was told it was going to be about 2 or 3 episodes. And I just assumed once I read the first episode, my character was such a douchebag that it wasn't possible that he would stick around that long.
Right.
He was bound to say something that was going to get himself fired.
Right.
And it was just a matter of time. And it looked like the writing was on the wall.
Right.
Of course, with that show, what I didn't know at the time was if there was writing on the wall about something, that meant it probably wasn't going to happen because they would like to go the other way.
Yeah.
But so when the season ended, I think the penultimate episode of that season I was in, and it was my last episode for that season. And in that episode, there was kind of a house cleaning happening at the ad agency on the show, and people were being fired. And I first read the script. I kept going through it, because back in those days, and especially for me, still just a guest star, I wouldn't see what was in the script until I showed up for the table read. That's when you got to see the script. And then you had to leave it there, and you would only get your scenes to work on. And so I showed up to that last table read, and I'm thinking, well, this has got to be the episode I get the boot. And then I start thumbing through it, and I see, people are getting fired. Okay, where is it going to be? Where is it? And then I get to the end, and I'm still there. And I thought, well, that's odd.
That's cool.
I said, well, maybe that means they'll bring me back for 1 or 2 next year, But I had no idea. They didn't give me any indication to believe that, other than the fact that they didn't fire me.
But you became a regular.
Eventually, yeah.
What season?
That next season.
That next season.
Yeah.
So were you surprised when you got the call from your agent saying, hey, they want to make a deal for your... Did you flip out?
Yeah. But I was already flipping out. Because it had, when I got it, and my ignorance to its... even though I knew it was successful, I was still ignorant to, I guess, how successful it was, or how successful it was in the eyes of prospective future employers here in this town.
Right.
Like all the shows I'd ever been on before, they may have even been viewed by more average viewers week by week, but nobody in this town ever knew they were even on TV.
Right.
This was the first job I ever had where people here were actually watching.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was obviously helpful. But it had, so when I got it, my manager, one of my managers, who's a huge fan of the show already, said, this is going to lead to other things for you. And I, of course, at this point, am so jaded and desensitized.
Yeah, I heard
and
that.
have been hearing that for so long. I'm like, give me a fucking break. Just let me I hope the checks still are able to be cashed.
Yeah.
And that's really, because at this point we had a 2-year-old and we had twins on the way.
Yeah.
So now the stakes had been risen even more. But sure enough, even though I was skeptical, right around the time my episode started airing, I happened to be in the running for a movie. And I typically have not really done that many movies over my career. You know, every now and then I'll do one, and it's not by choice. It's just that, you know, it just hasn't worked out for whatever reason. But this was like a studio movie. And really the thing about it for me was it was with a director that I so admired and wanted to work with. His name's Scott Hicks. He directed the movie Shine.
Right.
Shine. So good. Australian guy. Really sweet dude to me. And anyway, so I was up for this thing, and I was in the running for it. You know, it was me and a few other guys. And what I had heard, I don't know how I heard this or why. It's just a silly thing to know, or maybe I learned it afterwards, and then I was even more surprised. But the other guys that I was up against were actors that were pretty well known. You know, actors that had been in like Academy Award winning movies.
So you thought, I'm not getting this?
Yeah. I thought, but you know, just to get to the level where I was in the room with Scott, and I was doing a chemistry thing with Taylor Schilling, who is the ultimate female lead in that movie. That was, and I was able to tell Scott at the last thing, look, I don't care if this works out, it works out. I just want you to know, man, I'm such a fan, and you really brought a lot of joy into my life with that film specifically, and it's just good to be able to express that to you, you know, and it just so happened that one of the main producers on it was a huge Mad Men fan. And she pushed for you. She pushed hard for me. And ultimately